Richard Quest, CNNI business correspondent, the host of Quest Means Business. What does this mean, Mr.
Let
Quest?
the flying competition begin. It all started with Delta and Northwest when they merged. Then came along United.
That's a crash.
United and Continental. Now comes American and US Airways, bigger than the other two, with many more routes, more planes, and a larger presence in the market. So how did we get here? Let's just take a look at who merged with who and what the routes. Look at these routes. This is what they had to promise to actually get to where they are. And look at how the airlines all came together. Oh, they're getting together in a delightful little orgy of consolidation. And what you end up with is 3 legacies and 1 Southwest. Where's Southwest? We couldn't find a model, it was too expensive in the shop. Unlike the tickets, we couldn't pay for the bubble. But what we've ended up with is these 3 legacy carriers now about to do battle. Absolute head-to-head, foot-to-foot, whatever you want to say, battle between the 3 major carriers in America.
Does that mean they're fighting for my dollar and that I'm going to get a better route and a better ticket price as a flyer?
That's what the Justice Department lawsuit was all about, making sure certain key routes were kept open. And in the agreement that was announced yesterday, if you look at the map, basically all the major hubs agreed to continue service to these cities in some shape or form across the United States. I have to say, if you look at what the DOJ finally wrought out of American, it wasn't a huge amount, 104 slots at some of them slots at Reagan, so many at Logan, so many at LaGuardia, Chicago,
They had
Dallas.
to give up slots.
They had to give
Why?
up, so they're having to sell them.
Why?
Because they were dominant. If you take Reagan, this new airline will have something like 68% of the slots. So for people travelling from these major airports to other places, these would have had a stranglehold. But it's a reality, Chris. You can't get over the fact the United States now has 3 major legacy carrier groups: Southwest, which is virtually the same size, and of course JetBlue, which is a long way behind.
And they're not happy with this. In fact, they came up with a deal yesterday because they wanted to sort of protest this merger, didn't they? Like $55 one-way trip.
That was just before they announced this deal. Yes, they're not happy with it, and for good reason. Let's look at that graphic again, showing the amount of share. Look at that. Delta's got 16.3% of the US. United, 15%. Now, throw together American and US Airways, and you end up with 20%, give or take. But here's the real question.
I'm waiting for it.
I always like to ask and then answer my own questions. I find it much more satisfying.
It's quicker, it means to the end.
Here's the real question. Once competition begins, when do we start to see cuts in prices?
That's what I'm wondering. How does this increase competition for consumers? I'm seeing less airlines, even if you are giving up some routes. How is this good for the consumer?
Because ultimately, they start to spot market share where they can steal from each other. Providing the DOJ has done its work and prevented, if you like, unauthorized, informal competition lack of, which is what they said they were finding, you will start to see between on the major routes competition prices starting to at least hold their place and maybe even come down. And remember, this morning we've just had results from Emirates Airlines of the Gulf, the Dubai airline. $600 million profit, billions of dollars in revenues. So whilst these 3 are all doing battle with each other, let us not forget Lufthansa, the British Airways Group, IAG, Emirates, Etihad, Cathay.
This is just the reality, because they weren't going to. Is merging just the reality of the airline industry right now?
Grow or wither?
Without.
Wither, and watch yourself wither without. These 3 will now be in a competitive environment where they can beat the bejeebies out of each other in the United States. Obviously, if you're flying from Atlanta, it is a Delta stronghold. Right. With AirTran and Southwest. If you're out of LaGuardia, it's going to be much more competitive. If you're out of Boston, similarly. Take Chicago, for example, headquarters of United, but also a massive American presence. Dallas, an American presence. Los Angeles is a fighting ground at the moment between all three of the major carriers.
But you do have to go with one of them, and that always raises the concern about how, early on, they have the upper hand because you have to choose one of them because they dominate the market. So they're not necessarily incentivized to jump to lower prices to draw you.
Eventually they do. Eventually they do because they spot market share. The biggest talking point at the moment in the industry is how they are raising the number of frequent flyer miles needed to redeem tickets.
Exactly.
And how you now have a spend component
Yes.
for getting elite status. I probably will never get another upgrade after talking about this.
No kidding. You're officially on the no-fly list.
Done.
You're stuck.
I
Thanks,
appreciate
Richard.
you breaking it down, though. It's a little complicated. Hopefully it comes out for us.